Stephanie Valenzuela is a candidate for mayor of the Côte-des-Neiges NDG borough, and she is basically talking to us about her plans for what she wants to do, and specifically about the Empress Theatre. Now, we've had a lot of talk about this on today's show. There's been this back and forth for years and years and years and years as to what was going to happen with this building, what would it be used for, and in the meantime, it's been left to its own very sad devices. Stephanie Valenzuela joins us now. Stephanie, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, we got to talk about this. You had a press conference and you decided, I'm going to take a stand on the Empress, which amongst all of the sort of campaign promises or pledges or plans that you have, why was it important to talk about the Empress?
It was really important for our team to talk about the Empress because it's a perfect example of missed opportunity, not just for the last 8 years with this administration, but for previous administrations that came before us. The Empress Theatre is an emblematic landmark of NDG. It's truly the symbol of culture and community in the borough, in the heart of an important sector of NDG. And, it's been owned by the city of Montreal since 1999, and since then, it's been in a state of decay. The last time there was truly conversation or any kind of advancement was in the last administration of Mayor Sue Montgomery, when in 2020 they had announced that there was going to be public consultations, and there was even funding of $250,000 that was given to the SHDM to go forward with the project. And 5 years later, we're still in the same state where we're back to the SHDM doing feasibility studies, and there's no actual advancement on the file. So for us, we see missed opportunity, and we see an actual opportunity for us to have a plan in place on day one and to advance on it.
It's interesting because in your press release, I'm looking at the comparisons that you're made with other iconic theaters in the city, right? That were repaired, repurposed, put into very sort of iconic spots in the city. Cirque Éloise in Old Montreal. I used to live across the street from their beautiful, beautiful spot. Les Sept Doigts de la Main, the Cabaret Juste pour Rire. So there is a sort of history of not abandoning these iconic institutions in the city. One of the big questions, though, is it too far gone at this point? Because the problem is, it's not so much that you're back to the planning stage, we have to figure out how bad the conditions are, but Projet and Ensemble have very different ideas for what should happen with Ensemble Montréal, right? So there's still a debate as to what's actually going to be, what the Empress is going to be used for. So first, talk about what you want to do with that building.
What we would love to do with this building is keep the essence of what the Empress Theatre has always been for the neighborhood, and what the community organizations and the community sector has fought for was to maintain the cultural aspect of what the Empress Theatre represents for the neighborhood. And so that's why it's truly at the core of our vision of the project going forward. We want to make sure that in the heart of this project, when we go forward with it, with our cultural promoter and the private sector promoter that will advance on the real estate aspect of it, that there's truly a layer included for cultural venue space, and that there's as well an inclusion for community space. For us, it's truly important that the heart of the Empress Theatre is maintained and the cultural aspect of it is maintained, which is why we were very proud to have this morning with us at our press conference Cliff from the Wheel Club, and the representative of the head of the SMAC, the Small Venues Association of Quebec, Mr. Weiss, because they believe as well that if we go forward with this project and with this vision, we would truly have culture at the heart of the project. And it's something that we desperately need on the west end of the island of Montreal. We don't have these kinds of venues available, and we have to be able to give this back to our community.
Well, the pushback to that, Stephanie, again, we're speaking with Stephanie Valenzuela from Ensemble Montréal, again, candidate for mayor of Côte-des-Neiges and DG. The pushback would be like, well, it's all fine and well to have a cultural center, another venue for theater, another venue for concerts, you name it, whatever, you can put it in that building. But in the midst of a housing crisis, is that really where we should be putting our attention and our money?
And that's why I find it super interesting, because that's where we are differentiated by Ensemble Montréal and Projet Montréal. With Ensemble Montréal, what we're doing is we're going, further in our innovative process of financing and bringing a project to life. And if we take the example of Cerquelloise, for example, or Les Citoyens de la Main, these are different partnerships that we're creating in order to maintain cultural and community space, but still be able to build on top of it through a feasible and realistic private partner that's mandated to develop that aspect of real estate to make this project truly a feasible one. So we're saying that if we are given the chance on November 2nd, within the first 100 days, we would meet with the most likely group to act as the cultural operator to take up residence at the Empress. We would make sure that we secure the facade and, maintain whatever is still possible in terms of the cultural aspects and include it as much as possible in the vision going forward with the project. And then we would meet and select a private partner mandated for the real estate development and finalize all the necessary agreements so that we could finally develop and take care of our Empress Theatre.
Okay, so if you're saying that, Stephanie, is that those conversations have begun. You're not just supposing that there's going to be this magical private partner that's going to show up, because this is a major undertaking, not only because the condition inside and outside the facade itself has been left to rot, essentially, but because of the historical significance of it, right? Because of the heritage aspects of the buildings, you can't just do what you want willy-nilly with this thing. So is there a private partner out there? Have you heard rumblings? Are you speaking to people?
So there hasn't been conversation, because that's not what should be taking place. There's a process that still has to go in order for this to happen. But
again, is there an appetite in the private sector? Because you seem to be confident that this is the way.
Yes, well, there's definitely an appetite, and because that there's already actual examples of this happening because of Cerquelloise, for example, or Les Citoyens de la Main. Not only do we know it's feasible and that people are interested in doing this, we also have the experience, because one of our candidates, Mr. Alexander Teodorescu, was also part of projects such as this one. So we have the experience, we have the vision, and we have the political will to go forward with such a plan.
Okay, so to be clear, if Ensemble takes this, the Empress remains the cultural center. So it'll be a mix between, again, if you secure the private funding. So to be clear, will continue to be a venue, right? So we're talking theater, we're talking music, but also the cultural center as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. Stephanie Valenzuela, again, candidate for mayor of Côte-des-Neiges, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, part of Ensemble Montréal. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.
The biggest songs in the world. You've heard them countless times. Now, learn the details of how they came to be. Join Ruby Carr for Encore, the stories behind the songs you love. New interviews and newly unearthed archive footage make for a fascinating weekly deep dive. Stream Encore, the stories behind the songs you love on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.